or at Frank Ryder on X. Absolutely brilliant, incredible stuff. Thank you so much, sir. And I look forward to seeing your series on life,
family and country, and the restoration of our civilization.
To come out of this with Ryder.com is his Substack, and of course
his InfoWars studio, along with his, is coming to a close. And Liberty Media, InfoWars.com, the domain name now has a message that just says off air. But these people don't know anything about Alex Jones, because if you just go to alexjoneslive.com, the website looks very similar to the old InfoWars website. And look at there. There is a live feed of his show, the Alex Jones Show, now just not using the InfoWars name, where he is continuing and hasn't missed a beat. If you go to the Apple App Store and the Android App Store and search for AJN Live, you can download the new Alex Jones Live app, where you can still listen to his show streamed live on your phone. Or you can just find and follow Alex Jones on Twitter X, where he still has 4.5 million followers, because despite the lawyer's attempts to try to take his personal account, they failed. And you can see there the live icon around his profile photo shows that he is live streaming the show there on repeat 24/7.
There is a war raging for the future of humanity. We have opened a new front at alexjoneslive.com. They thought they could silence us. They thought they could drive us off the air. They failed. We are back, stronger, louder, unbroken. Find the feeds, hear the broadcast, share the signal. alexjoneslive.com, the coordinates of freedom.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance.
You can feel it. You can taste it. You can see it.
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll move on from Europe for now and focus on American politics and the war in Iran. This video was posted by Ivan Raiklin earlier today, and we'll pair it later this hour with a video of Donald Trump making threats against some of our allies in the Middle East. This was posted by Ivan Raiklin earlier today. No new wars, promises made.
Down of the Ukrainian president in the Oval Office.
Operation Epic Fury! Operation Epic Fury, a joint attack by the United States and Israel.
A year of fighting wars.
President Trump's approval rating hitting a new all-time low.
Now defining Donald Trump's presidency.
Trump's one-time close ally, Tucker Carlson, disgusted. Tulsi Gabbard, director of national intelligence, has resigned. U.S. forces conducted southern Iran Monday.
New strikes against Iran.
No new wars. No new wars. No new wars. That's very good. They thought I was going to start a war. Let me tell you something. I'm going to stop World War III.
Incredibly powerful stuff and incredibly disappointing the Trump administration has been. Of course, he did start the war, the one major war that we were supposed to avoid, that we elected Donald Trump to keep us out of. He instead plunged us into. And folks, I don't think it's a coincidence that in his second administration, Trump has not been bombarded with scandal after scandal fabricated by the mainstream media. I don't think it's a coincidence that he just got an agreement with the IRS that he'll no longer be audited ever, he or his family, for the rest of his life. I don't think it's a coincidence that the insider trading and the corruption of this White House has been greater than anyone ever before, and yet it goes totally unremarked, again, by the mainstream media or by the DOJ or anything. I think he made a deal. What I'm saying is I think he made a deal, and I think he's in on it now. The whole thing, the whole corrupt agenda is now his agenda. And he's pushing it forward with the AI centers, with the Howard Lutnicks, with the offshoring with the John Paulsons that surround him. He has given himself fully over to the tyrants who are building the digital panopticon all around us. We're going to get into that today and talk about the desperation with which they are building these data centers and what would motivate such desperation and why Donald Trump is walking alongside them step by step, why he is allowing his DOJ to be used politically to set up what I believe to be a new war on terror that will firmly be focused against people like myself and, yes, even people like Hasan Piker. And we'll talk about Hasan Piker this hour because while my initial knee-jerk reaction was to be happy that this person who constantly promotes violence and is just obviously a domestic terrorist in waiting, good, yeah, screw him. But we're going to look at the details of that. We're going to look into what actually is motivating the prosecution of Hasan Piker and why I think it's deliberately being targeted on Hasan Piker, just like they targeted Alex Jones with the censorship in the first place. They want to target people that they know most other people will go along with their oppression because they've destroyed their reputation in the mainstream. Now, Hasan Piker deserves it, and Alex Jones doesn't. There is some subtlety and some nuance to all of this. But long story short, Donald Trump is on board now with globalism. The Iran war was one major step, but it's not the only one. The AI data centers, the surveillance, and the control grid is going in under...
I want to start with sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex.
This is rocket fuel. This is incredible. This is rocket fuel. Because I'm a sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is a cocktail I drink every day. A squirt of ultramethylene blue and T3. You are insane if you don't get it. Insane if you don't get it. Okay? Oh, listen. Oh, listen. You are insane if you don't get it. Insane if you don't get it. I am a wrecking ball. I am obsessed with this. I can't stop. And now I'm having this. And now I'm having this. Because I'm a sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is the truth. Because I'm a sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex. You understand that? Does that burn into your brain?
I think I'm going to buy some methylene blue now.
TheAlexJonesShow.com.
You are listening to an AJN Live Frontline Report. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Welcome back, folks. Third hour of the Alex Jones Show is on. I'm your host, Harrison Smith. Follow us on X at AJN Live. Make sure to share the URL, alexjoneslive.com. TheAlexJonesStore.com is how you support us, of course. And we've extended the BOGO sale. It's BOGO Sups still on TheAlexJonesStore.com. T3 Trifecta Iodine Tincture and Methylene Blue Tincture. Buy one of those and get a second bottle absolutely free. Of course, it keeps us on air and in the fight. And no matter what you need, there's something for you at TheAlexJonesStore.com. Unless you're perfect, unless you're an immortal God being, unless you're Nephilim creature that has no pain and never suffers, brain fog and never has trouble sleeping, unless you are, a specimen of physical health that never has any physical ailments whatsoever, there's something for you at the Alex Jones. For all human beings, every mortal human being on the planet can benefit from the AlexJonesStore.com. We sell the best supplements in the world, refined, purified, made bioavailable, and with massive discounts. It's amazing, to be honest with you. It's just the perfect setup to keep doing what we're doing. Again, this is what has allowed us to not be subject to the whims of advertisers. It's what's allowed us to build our own platforms when our platforms routinely get stolen from us through legal abuse. We have been able to stay on the air in the fight and the top of the media landscape because you go to thealexjonesstore.com, because you buy fantastic products, because those products are amazing and work well, then you return and buy more. That is the game plan. That's the business plan. And so far, so good, because you patriots, freedom lovers, God-fearing American citizens gone out, and people all over the world have gone to thealexjonesstore.com, purchased a product, kept yourself tip-top condition, and kept us on the air. We cannot thank you enough. We know that people that listen to us aren't exactly the lazy type. You're not exactly the type to live off the government by choice. You work for your dollars, and we appreciate when you spend them at thealexjonesstore.com. We put it directly back into this operation so that we can attempt through peaceful means to reclaim the world that is actively being stolen from us. I thought this was interesting, an interesting corollary to what our guest Frank Wright was talking about when I asked him, why his video went so viral, why it touched so many hearts and pulled on so many heartstrings. And he basically says, because I'm a sane person in the world. I simply expressed sanity, and there's such a dearth, there's such a lack of basic sanity, basic acknowledgement of reality in the world that it seems like a unique and unprecedented event. And we're experiencing the same thing here in America. From Jesse Arm on X, he says, this is the best piece yet at distilling what the Spencer Pratt phenomenon is all about. Spencer Pratt, conservative Republican running for governor of California. His rise represents the shattering of the honesty taboo in Los Angeles and other poorly governed big blue cities like it. This says, if you had to distill all of this criticism into something coherent, I think it might just be that Pratt reminds liberals of Donald Trump, who they hate, and he talks about crime, which is bad for lib politicians. People also have a lot to say about the AI-generated campaign advertisement fans have produced on Pratt's behalf, which many pundits incessantly credit to the candidate himself, but it's not clear why they hate these things other than their general appearance of effectiveness. And again, Pratt has nothing to do with them. Still, I do agree the guy's a little bit like Trump, not just in terms of disposition or, from what I can tell thus far, any of Trump's most popular positions. Pratt is just another funny, charismatic white guy from the world of entertainment who obsessively discusses an extremely popular issue we are not, as good upstanding people in a one-party state controlled by the DNC, supposed to discuss. All right, he's talking about the crime. He's talking about the homelessness. He's talking about the stuff you're supposed to not just accept, but see as a permanent and inextricable part of being free. Do you remember when Tucker Carlson went to Russia and was showing how the subway systems were clean and free of crime? And what was Jon Stewart's response to this? It was to say, all of the filth and the crime and the chaos in the subway, that's a consequence of freedom. If you hate the filth and crime and being shoved in front of a train on your way back home from work, it's just because you hate freedom, because that's a inextricable part of freedom is the misery and the chaos and the murder and the death. It's a lie. That's a lie, but that's the lie they want you to believe. So they think that anybody opposing the chaos, anybody who wants to clean up the trash or the crime, really, they're going after your freedom to be abusive jackasses to your fellow citizens. No, that's not a freedom. It's not a freedom that you have. That is you destroying the freedom of other people to live in peace. As we know, peace is a prerequisite of freedom. To a certain extent, Trump's winning issue continues to be immigration, but for Pratt, the winning issue is the obvious fact that many of LA's homeless quote-unquote victims, who Americans are expected to imagine as exclusively a class of sweet-spoken, down-on-their bureaucrats who run the place to the reporters who cover the bureaucrats, is mostly a sweet gig. But when things start to crumble as badly as they have in LA, and you've completely defeated the neutered Republican Party you're supposed to keep around for purpose of witch burning, the act of noticing problems becomes taboo. An honesty taboo, if you will. You're not supposed to notice problems. Sort of the soft, societally enforced version of what Europe is going through, right? In Europe, they will literally just send you to jail for telling the truth about the outcome of their policies. We don't have that yet, although it is coming. What we have now is people who will simply try to demonize you and call you a fascist and say that you are hateful if you point out the consequences of the policies that they pursue, which inevitably and ubiquitously and exclusively harm the people of the city that they're supposed to help. So there you go. Again, I can't just have my whole show be showing you videos of what's going on in Europe, but do you see that every single one of these pages is another video of another random attack of Muslims? I'm going to save it for tomorrow though, because I've been doing too much of that this week, and we've got problems here in America that are compounding that are building one on top of the other, that are coalescing into the prison planet dystopian hell world that Alex Jones has been warning about for the last 30 years. It's happening. It's being implemented as we speak, and it's not exactly subtle the way that they're doing it. They're just calling you anti-Semitic for noticing. So I want to try to draw some connections here, draw some lines between things that are occurring that may seem separate, but are in fact very, very related to one another. On, because I don't think that it's legitimate the reason they're going after him. I think it is being very carefully engineered to create the precedent for going after people for their political opinions, utterly eviscerating the First Amendment, but they're doing it in a very careful way to get those of us who are on guard against things like that to go along with it by targeting somebody that we, in general, despise, Hassan Piker. He's sort of the embodiment of everything that's wrong in this country. Nepo baby, immigrant, rich boy, cosplaying as a champagne socialist and calling for violence as he attempts to tear down the very country that's given him everything. He's a despicable scumbag. Does he deserve to go to jail for his political opinions? Probably yes. To be honest with you, yes, he does. So why am I not going along with it? Because I don't trust the people doing it. Here's my question. Do you think Hassan Piker is being investigated because of his activity with Cuba? Do you think that? Do you think that the United States government forced the expulsion of the president of Harvard because of DEI or because of, her copying somebody's work? Do you think that's why they put the pressure on Harvard? Do you? Do you think that TikTok was being forced to be sold from China to David Ellison or Larry Ellison because they were pushing propaganda on the American people, Chinese propaganda? Do you think that's why that happened? See, it's not that complicated. We're doing these things for Israel. We're doing these things against our own people for a foreign state. People wouldn't be happy to know that. So they give it the most thinly veiled disguise you can possibly imagine. They simply assert that, no, this is happening because of something that you agree with. But it's not. It's happening because Israel wants it. So when it comes to Hassan Piker, yes, I do think that the government has more than enough reason to investigate or even prosecute him. Are they doing it because of those reasons? I don't think so. I don't think they are. One of the reasons I don't think they are is because the number of people who have done exactly what Hassan Piker is accused of doing. I guess I should give you the rundown here of what exactly is happening with Hassan Piker and why I don't think it is actually being presented honestly. And now I'm going to compare it to some other people that we know, people like, for example, Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. She did a hell of a lot more than Hassan Piker is even accused of doing with the very same people he's accused of doing it with. Why is she not being charged with this? Because that's not what it's about at the end of the day. What it's about is criticism of Israel. That's why Hassan Piker is being targeted, and I think I have very good reason for believing this, especially with the other stuff that Donald Trump is getting up to. Here it is. Hassan Piker names pro-CCP tycoon Singham as financier of political movements despite nonprofit veneer. Far-left political influencer Hassan Piker identified American Marxist tech tycoon Neville Roy Singham as a major financier behind a network of pro-communist U.S. nonprofits engaged in political advocacy and a lot of political movements, marking the first public acknowledgement from a figure inside the far-left network that organizations in the Singham network are operating with an explicitly political agenda. So I guess my question would be, is Singham being investigated, or is it only Hassan Piker? That doesn't make a lot of sense, actually, if you really think about it. About 37 minutes into a 6-hour live stream on Monday, headlined "Feds Are After Me," punctuated with 2 cursing emojis, Piker stunned listeners knowledgeable about the intricacies of far-left networks by saying he believes federal investigators are ultimately targeting Singham and the organizations he supports, including Code Pink and self-declared communist organization Answer Coalition and Party for Socialism and Liberation, for the political work that they do. I don't believe them. I don't believe that's what it's really about. I just don't. I think it's because he's anti-Israel. I think that's why they're targeting him. And I think, again, we'll see evidence of this in just a second. But Spencer Pratt, candidate for mayor of Los Angeles. Sorry, I think I said governor earlier. Mayor of Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt says, when I was in my 20s, I was on a TV show. When Karen Bass was in her 20s, she was training in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare with communists in Cuba. This was an LA Times story back when LA Times was still in LA and still used to tell the truth. They say a third plaintiff traveled to Cuba to learn guerrilla warfare. Plaintiff Karen Bass, according to a 1973 intelligence document provided to the Times, traveled to Cuba with the 6th contingent of Venceremos Brigade. The brigade trains revolutionary-prone Americans in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare while claiming to harvest sugarcane. Bass, characterized as a brigade leader, returned from Cuba to the U.S., bringing back propaganda literature, the document noted, citing the source without citing the source of the information. So again, it's like, okay, arrest Karen Bass then. I mean, I think you can arrest Karen Bass. Like, when you have these open communistic networks in league with Cuba, in league with people all over the world who are not American, who are pouring money into America to discredit our system, to about a communist revolution, when it's happening at an industrial scale all over the country, call me a little bit suspicious when I see one political streamer being targeted for all of this. I don't buy it. I don't think that's what it's about. If it's what it was about, there's a lot of other big targets to go after, like, for example, Mayor Karen Bass, who in the 70s was caught leading communist Marxist training camps in Cuba. And that's kind of a big deal, I would think. You've got, all this other stuff. But let's look at what Hasan Piker, because there is this is tricky, because they should be going after him. They should be targeting him for his what he's already admitted that he's doing. But think about it this way. Tim Pool and others were targeted because they unknowingly took money from somebody associated with Russia. They weren't taking orders from Russia. They weren't collaborating with Russia. They never even contacted anybody in Russia, but they were investigated because the company they were for had received income from Russians. And this was a time when I guess Russia was under sanctions. So what happened was the DOJ investigated them, completely cleared them, found that they had not taken money to be a unregistered foreign agent, because this is what's happening to Hasan. I believe it's under FARA statutes that he's being pursued. Basically, they're saying you were working as a registered agent, but you never, or an agent for a foreign country, but you never registered as one. And again, I think this is what they did with the DOJ with Tim Pool and others was they did the investigation, found nothing to support the investigation, and yet published it anyway in a way that made people believe that these people had taken Russian money. And still to this day, you'll see people say, oh, Tim Pool, the Russian agent, even though he was totally cleared of it. They used it as a political weapon to target their political enemies. That's not what's happening with Hasan Piker. They're announcing, they made it very public and announced that they were doing it because I think the purpose is to normalize this, to normalize the idea that political commentators can be charged with crimes because of their political positions. I think this is bad. I think this is very bad. But we can go to some of the videos of old Chank's nephew, Nepo Champagne socialist horse baby. There's a picture of him as a little boy riding a horse, and he looks like a little Lloyd Fauntleroy, and it's very funny that he now cosplays as a downtrodden revolutionary. Everything he is and believes is complete crap, just in case you weren't aware of that already. We got a few videos of Hasan describing this, and again, I said when I first covered this that they're really out of practice in terms of the whole being subversive agents of rebellion. You're supposed to keep that secret, but they've gone unpunished and basically been told they're heroes for doing this for so long that they just come out and admit it. Let's go to clip number 18 here. Hasan Piker admits on stream the Cuban government reached out to him with a special offer. Let's watch.
I want to go to Cuba. Would you be down?
I fucking love Cuba.
Oh yeah, you'd be down?
Yeah, I filmed a documentary there once.
The Cuban government actually hit my contact from the embassy and told him that stopping asylum coming to Cuba was the consistent internet access. We can make it happen.
Yeah, Cuba is sick.
Wait, like the guy.
Government reached out to you.
Yeah, but
Well, not reach out to me. There's like there's a middleman. Because I had a doctor from Cuba. Cuba does this thing called medical missions, and they've been doing it since I believe like the 70s, and it's incredibly successful. They have a massive, very robust like medical program. They have to because they're under an incredible sanctions regime by the United States of America. The rest of the world thinks is important, except for America and Israel that keep consistently vetoing it over and over again. But this has created a
so he's like, yeah, the Cuban government got in contact with me. Well, a middleman. They got in contact with a middleman that I'm using to shield myself from, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say you're using a middleman. A middleman is usually there to keep you away from, being personally involved in the crime you're committing. But, okay, you just came out and said it. Let's go to clip number 10 here. This is him naming Neville Royce Singham as being the funder of all of these communistic deconstructionist movements that Hassan Piker champions. Let's watch.
I think that ultimately the target is probably Singham and his operation from PSL to Answer Coalition to Co-Pink, like anything that he has ever financed. And it's not new. It's been around for a while, but it's obviously it's held through regardless because like it's ridiculous, right? It's like totally ridiculous to try and to try and stop like the political advocacy of an American citizen, right? Roy Singham is an American citizen. He lives in China now, and he's a centimillionaire. I think he like has almost $1 billion. Not sure how much money he has now, but like he's been a funding vehicle for a lot of like political movements in the country, like a lot of activism, and they hate that. Like the American government hates that, so they're trying to jam him up. They're trying to hit him on anything and everything they possibly can. That's it. That's the goal here. That's the broader goal.
I wish that was the goal, because we should be stopping people who are living in China, millionaires or billionaires who are living in China, from manipulating the American political system by funding gigantic, borderline criminal doxing groups to go after their enemies. We should be going after them. I don't think that's what's happening, though. I don't believe that. I think they're going after people who are anti-Israel, and they're setting up the idea that alone is enough to, qualify you as a domestic terrorist and a leftist. Now, this is the thing. People are responding positively. They are enjoying the fact that Hassan Piker is being prosecuted, which I am too. Don't get me wrong. He deserves it. And I think it will be funny if he goes to federal prison. I will enjoy that very much. Of course, he may flee to Turkey because he's a dual citizen, because aren't they all? But I think they're setting a precedent here. And I think that we can decode this, because it's not all that subtle. It's not all that nuanced the way they're doing this. I'm going to show you two videos that you've probably seen already, but I don't know why nobody else is making the connection. Sebastian Gorka, just this week, came out talking about how they'd be going after people who are anti-Israel as domestic terrorists, or going after lefties. And he says lefties, although he does a thing where he like starts to say lefty and he's like, well, Americans who something. But do you remember that the week before that, he talked about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes being terrorists who were on the left? So when they say lefties, this is the dichotomy I've been talking about for the last 2 years that they're trying to push, which says you either are pro-Israel or you're a left-wing radical. And they're actually incorporating that into the like domestic terror guidelines so that anybody who's anti-Israel, even if you're far right, you will be labeled under the left. So all of the people right now going, oh good, we're going after the left. The Trump administration is breaking things in their rush to imprison the leftists, our leftist enemies. That's you if you don't like Israel. That's you if you're against the data centers. That's you if you're against the prison planet that they're erecting for us. They're calling you left wing. So they've got a bunch of right wingers who don't want data centers, who don't want to be slaves of Israel, cheering on the machine that will soon be turned on them, actually building and contributing to the panopticon that is going to be turned on them because they think it's going to be used on leftists. It's not. That's not the divide that people in power are worried about. I'll lay it on the other side. When Barack Obama's birth certificate came out, and I went to the government website, I downloaded the birth certificate, I put it into Adobe Photoshop, I separated the layers, and I thought, this is crazy. They released a fake birth certificate. I didn't need somebody to tell me that. I didn't need, I didn't read somebody say that and just believe it on trust of them. I did it myself. I saw it with my own eyes. I did it with my own hands. And then I tell my friend, he's like, that's racist, right? I'm like, what? No, I just did it. And they're like, it's like a racist conspiracy theory, right? You're like, what? What is going on? So if you've experienced that, the reason is some people do not have the chemical balance to handle things like that. You need a lot of testosterone to handle things like that. You need to have your mind not warped and distorted by the dopamine feedback loop that social media is designed to create in your brain to enforce you into the pre-established, preordained, approved of mindset. So if you're here, you probably already are winning the chemical war over your own body, but that's why we sell the supplements that we do. Pretty much everybody takes, who doesn't take vitamins? Who doesn't supplement in some way or another? Who doesn't add a protein scoop when they get a smoothie at the store, or take vitamin D or vitamin C or fish oil, before bed or when you wake up? Isn't a crazy thing. This isn't an out there woo-woo type of thing. Everybody takes supplements. Everybody I know takes supplements. And if you're not, you should be. And so all we do is get the best supplements on the market, white label them. And so you get them from us, you're probably getting a better price than at the store. And you're absolutely getting the best possible quality of all of these products. If you're here for the first time and don't know why you would support us, because you get the information for free, because the streams are free, because there's no obligation for you to support us, that's all part of the strategy. The fact is, we're able to keep this free because you go to thealexjonesstore.com. Put this information into action. You have to understand the attack on humanity itself, and then fight back against it in two different ways. One, by advocating and trying to seize power politically to change things from the top down. But while that's going on, you've got to be protecting yourself against this stuff. And we have a lot of supplements and vitamins and minerals and merchandise for you to do exactly that. Things like Atomic Defense, Methylene Blue, Methylene Red. These things are extremely powerful and combat exactly the type of poisons that we talk about on a continual basis. So I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not making claims here. I'm not saying it's going to cure any diseases or anything. But I'm saying that in the modern world, it's microplastics and atrazine and herbicides and growth hormones and fluoride that they put in the water on purpose because they want you dumb. You have to combat these things. You have to be protecting yourself and building up your internal shield so you can even handle the information that we're bringing to you. And that really is a thing. Testosterone, the higher your testosterone is, the more likely you are to go against the grain, to reject the herd mentality of the crowd, and instead pursue justice or pursue the truth, regardless of who says anything about it. And there's a chemical balance that has to be achieved there. But that's why there's such an attempt to lower your IQ, lower your testosterone, lower your masculinity, lower your self-sufficiency, lower your self-confidence, because they want you a tired, weak, overwhelmed, overworked slave. That's what the people in power have designed this world to do to you, and you don't have to take it. You can fight back. You can protect yourself. You can reverse the effects of the damage that's done to your body, as it is to all of our bodies, by going to the Alex Jones store and getting a product.
Days, weeks, and even years ahead of the news cycle. AlexJonesLive.com is tomorrow's news today.
The Patriots' choice and globalists' dread. Welcome to the Alex Jones Show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment with me, your host, Harrison Smith, for the Alex Jones Show. We're going to go do a interview that Alex did this week in the last hour of this show, and then Rob Duell will be taking over for me on War Room Live. You can, of course, follow me on X at Harrison H. Smith. Follow us at AJN Live. Make sure you're following at Real Alex Jones. Share the link to the URL, AlexJonesLive.com. Now I'm going to cover a bunch of stuff here that I hope we can draw together. We can, connect the dots. I say a lot of people already know the stars. I'm here to draw the constellation, right? We know these things are happening independently, but how are they all connected? And what image do they create when you look at them all holistically and comprehensively? I think I can figure out what's going on here. So you've got Hasan Piker being targeted. He, of course, is one of the most distasteful and most hated people on the entire left wing. And so you've got a lot of right-wingers going along with it and celebrating it as if it has anything to do with his left-wing positions. And maybe it has some little bit to do with it, but I think it's a heck of a lot more to do with his opposition to Israel. And at the same time that you have this sort of unprecedented expansion of this type of prosecution to political commentators, because that's what he is really at the end of the day. You've got all this other talk about other forms of domestic terror that we're seeing rise, including opposing AI, opposing the data centers being built in your neighborhoods. They're calling you domestic terrorists for this. So what does this mean? What does it all mean? How is it all tied in together? Well, again, I think Sebastian Gorka sort of gives us the key. Well, he gives us the secret message and the decoder ring, right? So in this first one from Ken Klippenstein, who posted this, White House counterterrorism czar Sebastian Gorka says, we're going to label terrorists as terrorists, whether it's the cartels, whether it's the jihadis, or whether it's and he starts to say left, the Americans who are left-wing, who are radical because they subscribe to anarchic, anti-fascist, or radical pro-transgender ideology. Again, this is the disguise. This is the costume that they're dressing up their tyranny in. It's not actually about this stuff. If it was, I'd be a little bit more in favor of it. Still a little bit concerned about the way that they seem to be lumping in political activism with terrorism. I don't like that. On the other hand, transgenderism is literally an attack on our country and has to be dealt with, but they're not dealing with it, right? They're not dealing with Antifa. They're not dealing with the protesters. I mean, look what's happening in Newark, New Jersey right now with the attacks on ICE. They aren't even cracking down on the violent physical attacks of people barricading the ICE facility so they can block the ICE agents in as they run around committing crimes. I mean, they're not even dealing with that, but you think they're going after Hasan Piker because they care so much about it? Like, please, wake up. This has nothing to do with leftism. This has everything to do with building not just the American panopticon, but the world panopticon, America being the greatest barrier to that because of our historical adherence to the First Amendment and the restrictions that we have and what our government's able to do, which is why now they're moving towards more of a corporate style where they'll violate your rights through corporations. That way they can circumvent the restrictions of the Bill of Rights and the other foundational documents that define what we believe to be the proper function of government. Let's go to this video of Sebastian Gorka, explaining they're expanding terrorism to mean their ideological enemies, framing this in a way specifically designed to get the approval of right-wingers who would otherwise be the main barrier to this level of destruction of our rights. Let's watch.
We're going to label terrorists as terrorists, whether it's cartels, whether it's jihadis, or whether it's, sadly, the Americans who are left-wing, who are radical, and because they subscribe to some anarchic, anti-fascist, or radically pro-transgender ideology, think they can kill Americans, whether it's 6-year-old little baby children at the Annunciation Church and school, or whether it's your friend and my friend Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, so if you're against this, I guess you just want to kill babies in Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, that's what it's being presented, is you're either in favor of this because you also hate transgenderism, or you're against it because you like killing babies and killing Charlie Kirk, right? Anybody falling for this? I mean, are you stupid as Sebastian Gorka thinks you are? Because this was him last week. So right there, he's framing the expansion of the definition of terrorism as applied to American citizens by the American government, of which he is a part. Sebastian Gorka has official position in, counter-terror, and he's gunning for Joe Kent's job. Hell, he might get Tulsi Gabbard's job after this. He might be the ODNI if things, proceed at a pace. It'll probably be either him or Elise Stefanik. Either way, it'll be in Israel first.